Hey everyone, Drecky here, and this is the Vantop Moment 6S. And yes, I really do appreciate how much 6S sounds like success, so I'll probably make that joke at least 2 more times during this video. Featuring real 4K at 60 FPS and stabilized 4K 30, the Moment 6S is going to replace the SJ8 Pro as my main camera for one big reason, but you're gonna have to keep watching to find out why. Inside the box you will find a whole host of mounts, a full accessory kit to get you started. Funny thing, these more expensive cameras tend to not include as many accessories, so I'm really happy that Vantop went ahead and included things like stickers, a handlebar mount, 2 batteries, an external mic, and even this really snazzy remote watch. The best part? This box can also double as a trash can for all these little plastic bags that are included. Fun! This camera is very solidly built and it feels premium, definitely more so than any of the $100 cameras I've been unboxing at the same time. This camera is only waterproof inside of its external case. Take that off and you'll feel what I mean by premium build, with a grippy rubberized texture. The weight and solid feel gives me confidence that this camera will last. And yes, I have been struggling this whole time to not make comparisons to the SJ8 Pro, because externally these two cameras appear to be very similar. This comparison is largely a good thing, as I have put the SJ8 Pro through a ton of use and it's held up very well, so I have confidence that the Moment 6S will also hold up long term. Despite appearing to be based on the same hardware, they do use a different lens, and there is also differences in the firmware. For example, how they process video color is different, and audio quality is very different. You'll hear that later in the video. The user interface is almost entirely based on touch. On the side of the camera is the power button, which also helps you switch between modes, but adjusting any further settings requires using the touchscreen or a phone app. The settings are broken down into 3 sections. The first menu is entirely dedicated to video resolution. The second one has relevant adjustments for the mode you're in, such as white balance, ISO, mic volume, and distortion correction. And then there's a separate section for all of the camera settings such as screen brightness and date or time. Once you get used to where things are and these sub-menu lists, it's overall fairly easy to understand and navigate. So normally when I go out for a bike ride, I'm testing my cameras, and I look kind of silly because I have 3 or 4 of them on me and I'm swapping them around between my helmet, my handlebars, and testing the quality to see how they all compare to each other. Well, good news. Of the 5 cameras I've been testing over the last month, I consistently like the video quality from the Moment 6S the best. That is a very good thing, but also in a way I feel like it damn well better be the best, because this is the most expensive camera of that bunch, with a retail price at around $175. The Moment 6S processes video during the day a little bit warmer, with rich color and a medium level of contrast, making things overall bright and vibrant. While there is white balance, EV, and ISO adjustments, there isn't any flat color or Pro Tune mode offered by this camera, so the video it produces is more of a finished product with less wiggle room in post-production, but due to the camera having a higher end sensor, there is still a lot more wiggle room to edit color than cheaper budget action cameras. For the most part, I was very happy with how the video looked, although in some situations I found it could be a little bit on the bright side. The only formats that this camera films at with stabilization are 4K 30 and 1080p 60, but those are some of the most common resolutions anyways, so the other ones, they're not as important. It can also film at true 4K 60 without EIS, and a whole ton of other high frame rate modes like 1080p 120, 720p 240, and 2K and 1440p with 60 frames per second. In every resolution, video is refined with lots of detail and consistently good processing. You can even use the distortion correction feature with EIS turned on at the same time. That EIS does work pretty well, although it's not as aggressive as some cameras like the Campark V30 or the Akaso V30X. I found that it strikes a good middle ground between removing most bumps and still allowing for smooth turns and cornering. For example, when riding on this smooth road, the camera is steady with very few bumps, But when the camera is mounted to my poorly fitted half helmet, you can see that it does pick up a lot more shaking. You'll need a gimbal for that perfect smoothness, or just edit out any extra shaking in post-production because EIS does catch most of it. Night and low light shows off just how good this camera sensor is compared to cheaper options. Under street lights there's a decent amount of noise, but it's not ugly noise, and the noise reduction does do a good job of retaining detail. In many cases I feel like I can read street signs or signs of businesses even as I'm going past them at a good speed. The image stabilization as well manages to keep things from getting too blurry, although for best results I recommend turning it off and having the camera mounted on something steady. In these night riding shots, for example, in nearly pitch black, the camera does manage to retain detail right to the edge of the bright spots from the street lights. Overall, low light video is well managed, and in general you should get something usable out of it even if there is a bit of noise. And here we finally get to the big reason why I prefer the Moment 6S over the SJ8 Pro: audio quality. There's always been something a little bit wrong with the audio on the SJ8 Pro, and I even made a video about that. It only plays through one ear and it sounds rather hollow or tinny. At the time of writing this script, SJCam has not yet publicly released a firmware update to fix the audio, and Vantop has definitely one-upped them here by showing what this hardware is capable of. I have several cameras on hand right now, as I mentioned, and the Moment 6S is by far the best sounding one, so long as it's not too windy out.
Not that you can feel how cold it is, and here I am just wearing a t-shirt, because 30 minutes ago it was more or less sunny. Now, God no.
This camera does pick up quite a lot of wind noise, I'd say a little bit more than other cameras I use, but if you're going to be in a windy situation with the camera outside of its external case, then just use the included external mic. So here are a couple audio samples.
I'm currently at Victoria Park in Christchurch, and we're about to go for a mountain bike ride just down there. Kind of on a mixed use walking path, biking path right now. Not really supposed to cycle here, so I just came to you. Anyways, this camera is filming at 4K 30 frames per second with image stabilizer turned on. So we'll see how that goes with it mounted to my helmet and the handlebar. Everything's filming 4K 30 frames per second. I've got two cameras mounted to the handlebars, one to the helmet. Let's make this happen. Know what's coming. Cool. Whoa. This is steep.
And when I turn into the wind on my bike, I'm warning you, it's going to be a little bit loud, so cover your ears.
So SJCam, SJ8 Pro, Moment 6S, they're both at 4K 30 frames per second. And we're just gonna do another quick road ride here. All other settings are more or less the same. So hopefully this will be a reasonable test. Compare the quality of the 4K.
And finally, here's that same clip from the SJ8 Pro with the same settings. Listen to the difference in the audio quality.
So SJCam, SJ8 Pro, Moment 6S, they're both at 4K 30 frames per second. And we're just gonna do another quick road ride here. All other settings are more or less the same. So this will be a reasonable test.
Yeah, I know which one I prefer. There's a clear winner here, and it is the Moment 6S. A full comparison between these two cameras will be available sometime in December, so please subscribe to see that.
This is the Moment 6S with the external microphone. This external microphone attaches to the camera by USB-C, and it is included in the box. On days like today when it's a little bit windy, it should improve the audio quality. As you can see, it has a wind cut filter. Also, if the camera is mounted to your handlebars or somewhere where it would pick up a lot of shaking and vibrating noise, having an external mic definitely helps in that situation. I think that's how wind works, right? But using the external microphone, you shouldn't pick up as as much wind noise as the internal microphone does. I can't directly compare them because, you know, one scene I'll have the internal microphone plugged in, one scene I'll have the external microphone plugged in, and then in the other I'll have it unplugged, and it'll be different. But yeah, nonetheless, hopefully this should give you a good idea of what the external microphone sounds like as I'm riding my bike here.
So that was a sample from the camera's external microphone, and as you can hear, it's pretty good in most situations. Where it starts to fall apart is windy situations. So for example, that shot with me riding my bike, it was very windy. And you can hear that the camera does some wind cut or something that really interferes with the quality of the audio. Overall, built-in mic is really damn good, and the external mic is fine as long as you have it positioned correctly where it won't be in the wind. Still photos from this camera are class leading with lots of detail, vibrant colors, and perhaps just a little bit too much sharpness by default. I think they're also slightly more neutral and less warm yellow color than the video is, but it's a small difference. They do a good job managing contrast, as even in this bright sunny scene pointing near directly into the sun, the color is still vivid and it's possible to see detail in the shadows. And even in low light with the tripod, you can capture some really good long exposure pictures. Overall, the Vantop Moment 6S has successfully removed the SJ8 Pro from my main camera kit because of the audio quality. It's got very good video quality too, a full mounting hardware kit, a cool wrist remote, and I think overall it strikes a good balance between price and performance for someone who wants something high-end but doesn't want to spend GoPro money. Thanks for watching. As always, if you have questions, please leave them in the comments below. Like and subscribe, I appreciate all your support.